On Thursday, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals unanimously ruled to not block a lower court ruling that has suspended the president's travel ban. The president called the ruling a political decision and responded on Twitter by saying he would see them in court, which responded with which inspired a variety of reactions. Patty, we have both the decision and the reaction. Give me your impressions of both.
Well, it sounds like now Trump will first see his rewrite table, because it looks like there will be a fresh executive order rather than fighting this one, which was flawed, up to the Supreme Court. I read the response, and it was a great, I'm not a lawyer, but it was a great lesson in civics, just reading through the different things that, among other things, there was very little evidence presented by Trump's lawyer to talk about why it was a danger to the United States. Classified, they said it was classified documents, so they couldn't release it. Well, plenty of judges have seen classified documents before. They didn't wind up ruling on the religious issues, so we didn't even get into the Muslim ban. It was due process for the people who actually were in this country legally, who had green cards, who went abroad and couldn't get back because of families, because of jobs. So good move by the Ninth. We will obviously be fighting this issue, though, for a long time.
David, we taped the program at 12:15 on Friday, so we just heard as we sat down that the White House is going to issue different wording for a different executive order. From what we know so far, what are the legal ramifications? What do they need to change, or is it likely to face another legal battle?
It may well face another legal battle, but may have a better chance. And just on the see you in court, that was so nice of President Trump, because the judges like, well, we work here. That's great. Thank you we're here every day. And on Joey's thing about the Bennett's office wouldn't confirm they had dinner. If they, in fact, just had a couple pictures of sangria, all the better. Probably had a franker and more open discussion. Last week, I predicted that the Washington lawsuit had a slender probability of success. I was obviously wrong on that. I think the difference is there's immigration law as it's existed, and there's a very long record of the courts being unusually highly deferential to presidential decisions on that. But what I didn't account for is that tradition of deference is premised on the courts thinking, well, the president and his advisors were taking this pretty seriously, and of course they have a broader understanding of the world than judges can. But the president threw away that presumption of competence that normally previous presidents have enjoyed, as in fact he tweeted out something, quoting a line from a law professor who was critiquing some of the weaknesses in that decision, the Ninth Circuit's decision, but still said it was ultimately the correct decision. And it ended that professor wrote by saying this was rolled out with malevolent incompetence, which is accurate. And as the court said, okay, you're now saying this doesn't apply to green card holders who have definitely the strongest legal case and have been through very extreme vetting. The court says, well, it's only the White House counsel that said it doesn't apply to green card holders anymore. The White House counsel is not the head of Homeland Security, Customs and Border, all those things. They don't report to the White House counsel, they report to the president. The president hasn't changed the executive order. He hasn't said it doesn't apply to green card holders. So the Ninth Circuit said, don't tell us that the green card holder problem has been solved. It should be rewritten. If it is rewritten through the normal process, I think it's very likely they can come up with something that will withstand the inevitable challenges.
Eric, it seemed to me that we're seeing a pretty clear example of the president using the judiciary branch as a little bit of political shelter, because if he does lose another, whether it's the new executive order and says it does lose in court, he can then, clearly he did in his tweets, say, if anything happens, it wasn't my fault, I did what I was supposed to do, if we're bombed tomorrow, it's some judge's fault. Are we seeing a strategy that is likely to be employed throughout an administration?
It's a great question, Dominic, and I think the answer to the question is yes. But I think it cuts both ways. I think the president is very much setting up the judiciary as the fall guy if something goes south here, as it inevitably will. We're not going to get through 4 years. Hopefully we get through 4 years without 9/11, but you're not getting through 4 years, probably not 4 months, without San Bernardino or Orlando or something on that scale. I think conversely, there are a whole lot of people looking to the judiciary as an institution of even heightened importance these days, as the only real check and balance on this particular White House. I love David's phrase of presumption of competence. If this White House and this administration can regain that, not just on this issue, but on many issues over the coming months and the coming years, a lot of this country would breathe easier and would applaud. There are two issues here, and I'll just real quickly hit them. One is the mishandling of the whole thing. You can argue the substance of that executive order, you can argue the substance of the Trump approach, but I don't think any good faith person can argue that this was well handled, that it was well formulated, that it was thoughtfully done. The second then gets to the substance of it, and not just the legal substance and what can prevail in court, but I keep hearing as a firstborn son of 2 German Jewish immigrants to this country, I keep hearing echoes of 1939 and other stages in our history. And the history books have been very unkind to those particular chapters. I think the history books 20 and 50 years from now will be unkind to this chapter of a country closing its door, or effectively closing its door, or at least narrowing that door to refugee populations that need a place to go.
Joey, you're one of our guys in the Capitol. Even though this is a national story, what's been the reaction locally?
Oh, well, Colorado immigration, this state turns on immigration. And there's been a lot of talk at the Capitol. It seems like there's a rally every day. I'm going to start a feature on coloradopolitics.com called Look Who's Mad Today, because there are people out there on the steps of the Capitol every day. And immigration, if Trump wants to lead all of America, he has to lead all of America. And, with the Women's March, with the issues on immigration, the LGBT community, now we're waiting to see what Jeff Sessions is going to do with the marijuana community. He seems to be riling up an awful lot of people. And can this last for 4 years? Or does he want to get all the outrage over at once? So anything that he does later seems small by comparison. I don't know, but every day it's a discussion at the Capitol.